All right, so here with us today we have Mr. Manoharan, and he, in short, we call him Mano.
Yes, please do so.
Yes, Mano is from the SkillsFuture. He's an advice officer from the SkillsFuture Singapore. And we also have with us on site today, we have Mr. Asher Liu.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, Asher is a senior career coach and from the Workforce Singapore. So both of them are here to help you find a purpose in your work and also help you to chart a very meaningful career. So we can learn the importance of upskilling and reskilling and how to make your resume stand out right from the start. Okay, so if you're ready, let's kickstart the journey with us. Okay, first and foremost, Mano, we met on another occasion,
Yes,
right?
correct,
We're all
yes.
talking about the SkillsFuture and what we can do for you. And for Asher, though we met for the very first time, today I'm going to dig your brains on a lot of matters.
By all means.
Okay, yeah, we're ever ready. So, Mano and Asher, can you share with our audience briefly what do you do in your organization?
Okay, SSG is an organization that actually provides a key role in quality assurance for working adults and students to make sure that we provide high quality education and training needs that requires a current demand. And as an advisor, I play a very key role in organizing activities, events, briefing sessions to ensure that by and large the community benefits from these skills upgrading and ensure that they have a place that they can actually look forward to so that we can actually reach out to them and partake with them the courses that we have in SSG. They can take over from there.
That's right, SSG has a lot of courses.
Yes, correct, true.
Yes. So, Asher, would you like to share with us what do you do in your organization?
So basically, WSG is a statutory board under the Ministry of Manpower. So it oversees the transformation of the local workforce and industry to meet the economic changes. So basically, we work on two fronts. The first one is based on the local workforce, which is job seekers at large. So we help them with employability issues that they might have. And of course, for the second front, we work with enterprises to provide support for them for their transition, to help them to transform and remain competitive. So as a career coach, I predominantly work more with the first front, which is based on the job seekers. So what we provide is employability support in terms of having to meet with clients, which is our job seeker, to provide them career advices, such as self-awareness and career decision-making, and of course, job search strategies such as resume writing, interview preparation, and of course, career professional branding.
Yeah, so with a very brief introduction of what they do in an organization, I guess all the viewers right now know what their strengths are. Okay, so next question, we talk about employment and also employability. That brings me to a question. Does a dream job actually exist? And if so, what is your definition of a dream job?
Okay, so my personal definition, let me
Yes,
share on
your
that.
definition.
So basically, of course, the thing is I would love to have great job satisfaction, something that I would love to apply my skills with, feeling competent for the role, and of course, being a value add to the company. And of course, who wouldn't want a job that pays well?
Yes, that's right.
Definitely. So, but the thing is, for a dream job, it differs from different individuals. Some of them may want to strive to work hard in the early life, to make a lot of money and then to retire early, travel around the world. There are some people who is just slow and steady. They will prefer to work in a role whereby they are able to have that sufficiency to have that lifelong employment and the stability of a roof over their head. Now, in order for us to answer the question about a dream job, first of all, right, basically I would pose three questions to everybody who is listening to this. Number one, what are your motivations for working? That's very important to know why, what propels you forward in working. And of course, the thing is, what are you working towards? What are your goals in life? And last but not least, to ask yourself, how can your job help you propel yourself closer to your life goals? So one practical way to define a dream job is that the more you work in your job, the happier or the more satisfied you are being. So you feel challenged, you feel the sense of growth, and definitely you'll feel that this career aligns with your life goals and your personal values.
Wow, so that's the definition for the dream job. And if you have these three questions, you practically would have been able to find a dream job. But, coming to this, amongst all the audience who's watching us live right now, I think a lot will be primarily in their 30s, their 40s, and maybe some in their 50s. So do you think at this age, it will be too late for them to switch to another industry? That means considering a career switch.
Definitely. I love that question because I think career switching is a lot.
Yes,
it is a subject that is on a lot of people's mind. So now the thing is, making career switch can happen anytime. Whether you are just in the workforce for 1 or 2 years, or even you have been working for some time. Now, regardless of age, right? When making a career switch, there's certain things that you need to be mindful of. Definitely when you're making a career switch, there will be a very, very steep learning curve because you are entering into new ground. Uncharted waters, so you have to be very mindful of that. So remain adaptable. And of course, the second thing, which is generally from all the clients that I meet, is a very big concern, is the element of salary adjustment. So, when you move to a totally new industry, there will be some salary compromise in that sense. So making an informed choice and proper planning is very important for career switching. Now, the thing is, right, a few questions to guide you in this is to, number one, ask yourself, why do you want to make the change? What motivations do you have? Is it because of your values? Is it because you are bored of your work, your previous experiences? You want to try and venture out into something new? And of course, second thing is to ask yourself whether you are prepared for the change. And of course, what are you willing to give up for the change itself? So a few things that you can take time to do a stock take, right, is number one, reflect on what are some of the jobs and interests that you might have. So you can actually refer to, one acronym that we always use with our clients, which is called VIPS. So let me explain a bit on that. They means that for values, V, interest, I, personality, P, and your skill set. So you have to, take a stock take to see whether this is in place. Then of course you look inwardly to see, what are the current skills that you have at this point of time, and whether it's soft skills, hard skills, and transferable skills. And with that, right, you kind of know what you want to do, you kind of know what you have, you try to see where are the gaps, and you try to bridge it. So in this, right, it has to tap on a bit of manual experience, whether you are taking new courses or going into an internship or a traineeship to gain important equivalent work-related experiences. And of course, last but not least, networking is so important.
Super important.
Yes, because it is, sometimes about reaching out, to previous contacts, be it former colleagues, supervisors, to look out for opportunities, even your external partners such as your vendor. So these are the platforms where you can get insights, information, and even job opportunities.
That's true. You can always work within your inner circle first, right? Or maybe your close contacts, your ex-bosses, just catch up with them and say, hey, well, how's things doing? Is it great working in your organization? Just suss things out.
Yes.
And before you really just dive into career switch. Because I think why we have a question of is it too late for a career switch is because when you do a career switch at the age of 30s, 40s, and 50s, people also tend to go through midlife crisis then, wondering whether this job is really for them forever.
Definitely.
So it can be quite daunting. So there are some key questions in place, like just what Ashley has shared with us. So these key questions will be able to pinpoint how you could go about, doing this career switch. Thanks for sharing with us, okay? So all this in a nutshell, and if we go too fast, you can always ask your questions by scanning the QR code at the side of the screen and then just ask us the questions, okay? So next, I want to direct the question to Mano, okay?
Wait.
So yes, he's ready to fire. Okay. All right. So I'd like to dive a little deeper to take stock of the current skills inventory, right?
Okay.
So Mano, can you share with us how can we figure out what skills will help us in our career and how do we get these skills?
Okay. If you know, generally when we get employed, right, we have the skill sets, the qualification to be employed. But as you know that at workplaces, things are changing. Technological advances, digitalization. So the skill sets is critical for them to look whether is it relevant to today's industry or not. All right, because why? The shortening shelf life of the skills, it's very important continuously refresh our minds and our courses to take it up so that we can be able to find new ways of doing things. So there are soft skills are also equally important, and in SS3 there are 16 critical core skills,
Wow.
which we have divided into 3 main broad areas. All right, one is thinking critically. This thinking critically is the cognitive skills that are needed. Why? Because why? It broadly and creatively, all right, sees connections, all right, and opportunities in the midst of change. And it's also important because why? It gives you the root of technical skills to develop and progression. Next one is interacting with others, because why? As you know that in a workplace, you know that everybody will interact with each other. So you will learn to learn from one another and see what are the skills or courses that they can take between themselves, right? Like communication skills. Can they able to communicate among the colleagues? And then how can we actually go through that and understand the problem or situation, right? So they're able to combine their technical skills and those of to succeed. And lastly, staying relevant. Why staying relevant is very important? Because to stay relevant, in order to make sure that we are on par with the changes that's happening around us, our skills are there ready to continue to be employable or not, so that we can be able to provide the strategies, direction and motivation for technical skills development. So in nutshell, we can't take it for granted that what I've learned or acquired at the early stage, right, is it still relevant now, or am I supposed to upskill or reskill later on?
You talk about reskill, upskill. These are the keywords, and this is what we've been trying to emphasize for people looking for like career switch, right? Because the times are always changing. Yeah. So how should we adapt so that our skills become relevant in this changing times?
Okay, let me share my example itself. 30 years ago, I was actually a trainer with informatics. Those who are in the 40s or 50s will know which school is that.
Yes.
Right. So I have to take a course called the Effective Instructors course. Right, and then to become a stand-up trainer to conduct classes for them. But as I move along, things changes. So if I'm not taking up courses to make sure that I actually upskill, what happens to my training position will be not made valid.
Yes.
So what I need to go through the course called ACTA, which is now renamed as ACLP.
Yes, ACLP.
ACLP. So it's actually to make sure that I upskill myself. So rightfully you said that this is very critical because I acronym this RUN, run. So those audience out there, you remember the word run, the R stands for reskilling, right? It involves training of employees, because if a particular job is no longer valid or is obsolete now,
Not relevant.
anymore, okay, they have to go and reskill themselves. Just a very good example will be the printing industry. Those printing industries in paper and format is now all digitalization. They have to reskill themselves, that they are able to equip the skill sets, make sure they're able to use computers and machines to ensure that they are able to print newspapers or magazines, whatever. Next one is upskilling. As I shared my experience, upskilling is very critical because we continuously hone their skills to stay relevant, all right, and improve their employability. If you are not going to reskill or upskill yourself, what happens is that your job will not longer be able to perform, all right, and you will not be able to take higher positions, all right. And lastly, new skilling. New skilling is for required people to continuously hone their skill to stay relevant, all right, and improve their employability. Why new skilling? Because a lot of changes are happening around us, right? The current capabilities or need to complete to build entirely new capabilities, they have to take a new skills in order to perform the job. This will be very important, like Asher shared, if they want to put it into their resumes in future. These skills will be more relevant in terms of their changing their careers in the future.
So we just sum it out in a nutshell of three letters: R, U, and run.
Yes.
So R stands for the reskill, and U stands for the upskill, and then N stands for the new skills. So I hope that all of you run with this, okay?
Yes, right.
Run with this. All right, so there is also definitely one skill that we could pick up from, that is like a great resume writing. It is so hard to write a resume. Like, I think a lot of people haven't really written a resume properly for many years if they are still in employment, because once you are in employment, you tend to be a bit like cushy in the job. You don't really want to think about jumping to a new job. So you don't keep yourself abreast with what is necessary in making a stunning, resume. So I think now times have changed. A lot of people have also uploaded their resume via the LinkedIn. You could have a quick version if people are looking for people to hire. So there are a lot of changes in the resume side of things. So maybe Asher can share with us what makes up a good resume when we go to job searching. What stands out?
Yeah. So basically, right, as you know, resume is a platform and a space for you to communicate your stories. And it's important to note that it is the first impression that the employer have about you. Now, as much as we can download a lot of different templates from online, on different websites, it's important for us to note that, we have a part to play in making our resume better. So what are some pointers? Because as some of you might know, that employers might be using this software called the applicant tracking system. So in short, we call it ATS. Basically, right, it uses the algorithm, right, to match the job, the JD itself, the job description itself, against what you have in the resume. Basically, it churns out a percentage to see whether it's a good fit.
So there's some keywords that you should have in your resume.
Correct. That's right, Charlene. So basically, right, with that, right, you must be mindful to tailor your resume using the keywords that exist in the job requirements. So that's definitely the best reference point that you can look at. So include your knowledge, your skills, and abilities into your resume itself, and try to highlight these skills at the top half of your resume. Okay? Yeah. So I'll come to that later. All right. So the second thing is that you must definitely, throughout your working life, there must be some kind of achievement or accomplishments that you have gathered, over the years of working experience. Be sure to highlight them, because this is where you can showcase what you can value add to the prospective employers and how you can do similarly to the employers if you're joining their organization.
So for example, they can highlight things like achieve year-on-year 30% growth every year, something like that.
Definitely.
So that will stand out.
Yeah.
Rather than saying like, I help companies save $5,000, but always put like a percentage is better, right?
Correct. Or, I have helped CPF run this Ready for Life, events, that.
Volunteer.
Yeah. So, all right. So the thing is, moving on, right, it's important to keep your resume short. In the past, you have resume that is 6-7 pages. To be very honest, no offense to the audience, but it has more and more become obsolete, because it's important for you to keep your resume short. Why? Now, with moving times, people are using technology to receive resumes, and in a day itself, they can receive 50 to 80 resumes. And with that, recruiters and HR, they have no time to look through every single one of them. So that's why top half is because you want to make an impression as soon as possible. So keep it short, 2 pages, at max 3 pages. Make sure you're keeping the crucial stuff there. Sometimes less is more. All right. And of course, last but not least, is to always proofread. Inconsistency is always a downfall. You have people writing with different fonts, different font sizes, and of course the alignment are all over the place. Sometimes when recruiters and HR read it, it could reflect a lack of professionalism, because if you can't even proofread your own resume, how do I know you can do the job properly?
Yeah, and sometimes it can be, for me especially, I want it to be the same font type, and font sizes as well. I don't want like somewhere bigger, smaller, or jumbled up. So I guess this is kind of like a first impression. And also for the interviewer, they will see that, hey, if you can't even be bothered with your resume, right? I wonder how you will be bothered with your job. So resume first impression. That's a very good tip to summarize in 2 pages, because nowadays the people's attention are rather short. And also at the top half, just highlight your key achievements, your keywords as well. Thank you for the great tip over there, Asher. Okay, so moving on, I'd like to ask Asher some more questions. So what are some of the tips that you can share to leave an impression during an interview?
Yep. So after the resume, you get shortlisted, then
Yeah.
of course it comes to interview.
That's the exciting part,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
People-
You feel anxious, you feel energetic because yes, this is my chance. And of course, the thing is, this is definitely the platform for you to really verbally showcase your experience, your skill set, and all these attributes. And you have to know that it's a limited time frame. You don't get the whole day to share all these things. So be very mindful of what you are sharing. So number one, always be aware and know which are the jobs you applied for. For some job seekers, right, I met with a client, right, there was once he was sharing like, I got caught up for an interview, but I forgot when I sent this and for what job I sent it for.
The math sense.
Correct, that's right. So the thing is, it's important, when you go for an interview, always remember which job you're applying for, what is the job role, what is the organization, and it's important to do your research on the company itself, know its values, know its mission, and of course, what kind of job you're performing at what role itself. So that will benefit you when you are answering the question, you can answer to the point, and of course, even add in some additional brownie points if you're able to impress, like, I actually studied, recently what are some of the ongoings of your company itself. So it's important to understand that. So of course, number two is to plan your interview. Now, with the arrival of COVID, unfortunately, virtual interview became a norm, in the last 2 years, and of course, people have to adapt to new interview styles, like for example, Zoom interview, Skype interview, so on and so forth. Now, I mean, if let's say the physical interviews are back, so for that, it's pretty easy, you just have to be mindful to arrive on time, be nice to people that you meet, that's about it. But of course, for virtual interviews, be very mindful because of all the setup, like whether the lighting is all right, whether the app that you're using is okay, and of course, last but not least, right, one thing that people neglect is the internet connectivity stable.
Okay.
Yeah, because the thing is you don't want to be cut off in the sense where you're sharing halfway, your face freezes there, and that's quite a disaster by itself. Now, the next one is that you have to dress to impress. So most importantly, right, the first impression is everything. You want to score as much point and look sharp on the interview day. So even though it's a virtual interview, make sure you dress the part. You dress like you're having a physical interview because in terms of mentality, it affects you as well. I have heard stories that, I can actually wear a shirt, then on the bottom, I just wear my boxers or my shorts. That's not going to make the cut because you will feel like you're too comfortable as well. So do dress the part, okay? And number 4, practice, and more practice. I can't emphasize this enough because the thing is, right, when I meet with my clients, I always tell them, try to record your own interview questions. Ask yourself questions like, tell me more about yourself. Why do I want to apply for this job? Why did I leave my last organization? So do practice on these common questions that you might have. And of course, last but not least, ask questions during the interview. Why so? Because it addresses the part whereby you are actually showing interest and proactivity. And of course, at the back, I'm sure you have some concerns about the company itself. So make it a two-way traffic, not a single side lane where you are under a so-called questioning session, but you might want to turn it into a two-way conversation to make it more lively.
That's many great tips in last few minutes that Asher has shared with us. I guess you're right. We always have to practice and role play because by just sort of like going through in the mind how this will play out would not have made it because sometimes you need to verbalize it. You need to just put a recorder there, pretend that you're answering certain questions. Look at your body gesture as well because your body language is very important. Maybe you're fidgety and maybe you're not giving the eye contact. You're not showing that you're earnest enough for the interview. So it's important to always practice and dressed up for the interview. A lot of people just don't care about their decorum, but if you don't care about decorum, it shows so much about you. You just can't be bothered with your job as well, right? So decorum is definitely very important. And there's so many skills from you starting from sending the resume to you acing in an interview and getting the chance to impress your employer with your interview skills. And very much if it's done via Zoom, right, it's so narrow because people can't tell like how tall or how you look like. Everything's on this platform. You need to make sure the lighting on your face is adequate. You also need to know that your audio must make you sound real good.
Yep.
And also a lot of this nitty-gritty details does make up a very good interview. So I hope that, by sharing with you guys that you can pay attention to all these different factors. Make sure you are well listed, for ladies, put on your makeup, dress well, interview, rehearse. It's especially in this, resignation tsunami, there's a lot of people who resign, but there's also a lot of people looking for jobs.
Yes.
So for one job, there could be a lot of people vying for it. So we hope that you'll be able to ace your interview with what Asher has just shared with you. Okay. So next, I just also want to touch on this point. So if a prospective employer actually has two very qualified, resumes, right, with the relevant skills and experience, and he can only hire one of this. So what should he look out for? So like for those of you who are watching this, right, if you are almost similar with the rest, maybe from the employer point of view, can you share with us what would they look out for? Why would this person be better than the person if both resumes are almost the same?
No. Okay, I'll make it this short because this is really straightforward because we are talking about two kind of similar candidates. So it's important for us, sometimes employers, they look beyond the qualification or even the experience. They are looking for something that is more innate in that sense. So I would say, if I were to boil down to two things, number one is definitely having that very positive attitude, being very energetic during your interviews, because this is a human-to-human communication and people can feel your energy, whether you're down, whether you're affected by some things, in your personal life, how you remain positive, because all this attitude can be captured. And this reflects how you're going to value add to the company. Are you going to bring synergistic energy into the company itself, or are you just bringing your work experience itself? That's the first one, having that very positive demeanor, and of course the second one is to have a learning spirit, a very progressive spirit, and the willingness to learn on the job, to showcase that, because the thing is when you're going to a new company, there's a lot of things to learn. There is, we talk about steep learning curve, whether it's a career switching or simply you're joining a new company. It's important for you to reflect that and be assure the organization that you're there to really value add. You will try to get up to speed as quickly as possible. So I would actually say this too. The first one is having that positive attitude, and the second is the very willing spirit to learn.
Yes, so there's so much more to just what your resume can display, right? So some positive attitude would be good. And sometimes, people do look at, what do they volunteer for? Or like which organization have they volunteered with? So these are some additional parts that you could include in your resume. Okay, so Asher, you also mentioned about like it's vital to expand and also tap on your existing networks. So how important is networking? And for those who are not very good at networking, where should they start? How should they start?
Yeah. Okay, so for networking, right, basically it is in current climate itself is more and more important, because there's this saying, right, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. But of course, the thing is, don't take it too literally, because what you know is important as well. Now, the thing is, right, for networking, it's important for everybody because it's going to open new doors for you. It is going to create long-term relationships that will bring mutual benefits between both parties, yourself and your network. And most importantly, it helps you to broaden your horizon, learn new things on life itself, because it is not just about, going to someone and ask, do you have any jobs for me? But it's more of exchanging perspective, exchanging options, what can you provide for each other in that sense. So through networking, you can also be kept abreast of, the latest job market, what is happening, what are some of the new skills, what are some of the new updates in the industry itself. So it facilitates insights, ideas, and of course best practices to motivate each other to move forward. So where to start? You mentioned, Charlene. It's
how?
important. In nowadays social media is so rampant. And of course one platform that I always introduce to my client is definitely LinkedIn. So you can tap on LinkedIn. If you're not familiar with LinkedIn, LinkedIn is basically a professional social media platform that allows you to connect with a large audience, in a professional way, so you list down your work experience, so on and so forth. Now, with the easing of the measures itself, events are coming back up. So I think it's important for you to look into like attending physical events, trade association talks and things like that, that would actually help you to meet new people physically as well.
Thanks for sharing. And also based on your experiences, right? So what are some of the challenges faced by job seekers these days?
Yeah. So job seekers may think that, there are times whereby they may think that they take a stock of themselves. Hey, I'm actually suitable for every single job. But then the thing is, most importantly, right, it doesn't work for employers because they are looking predominantly what you can value add to the organization. So before they give you an interview opportunities, they want to know specifically what you can bring to the table, what you can bring to the company itself. So you need to demonstrate your values, your skill set, as mentioned just now, your knowledge to them so that they can be convinced that you are suitable for them. So a few common mistakes is that they do not understand the industry or the job nature itself or even the company culture. So do your research. Earlier I mentioned in the interview portion, do your research. Make sure you get in tune and align with the job, the role, what you're applying for, and of course the skills that comes along with it. And of course, most job seekers, they struggle with this, that when they go into an interview, they have nerves that is unsettled. So they don't carry themselves confidently. So during the interview, right, it makes them show that they are not well prepared. Yes, and not competent. You're absolutely right, Charlene, for the job itself. It makes them, think twice about giving you the opportunity for a second interview. So it's important for job seekers to know all this as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And there's a lot of questions we keep asking Asher, but because that's important. A lot of people are tuning in because they are thinking about maybe switching careers, and if they are thinking of doing so these are important for them. What are some of the resources that mid-career workers can tap on to ease their job transition in a new environment, because they are going to a new industry, right? So how can they benefit from it?
Okay, so I'll just share, WSG has a wide array of programs, but I'll just share two for the mid-career switcher. So first one is actually our career conversion program.
I heard about this.
Yeah, so in short it's CCP. We have 100 over CCPs to help support mid-career PMETs undergo skills conversion into new occupation. So through the CCP, they are able to equip themselves with relevant skills training to induct themselves into the new job very quickly. Now the second one is our SG United mid-career pathway programs. So an individual can also explore opportunities such as attachment under these mid-career pathway programs that will help them to gain relevant skills in the industry after being attached with the host company for between 4 to 6 months.
I heard about this program as well. So Manu, do you have anything to add on to these two programs?
What rightfully Asher pointed out is also the SkillsFuture career transition program. Right? For this group of people who are looking at mid-career switch, right, they can look at acquiring industry-related relevant skills to improve their employability, so that they're able to transit to the new sectors or new job roles. Asher was sharing about, job seekers doesn't know exactly the industry itself. In SSG portal itself, there's called a skills framework. Right, in the skills framework itself, you go into that, there are about 30 skills framework that they can go in and check what are the industries and what are the skills they need to take up, and to know more about industry and what are the jobs offered, so that they can apply accordingly also. Right, so basically individuals will be on a train and place program for 6 to 12 months. It can be from part-time to full-time. Currently for this SkillsFuture career conversion program is basically about 40 courses. By 2025. There'll be about 200 courses available.
Wow, there's so many.
200, yeah, there's going to be. They're beefing up. because there's a trend that there are a lot of mid-career switchers are switching careers.
Wow, more choices for us.
So this particular, we call it in short SCTP, is open to both Singaporeans and PRs who are looking for every opportunities to transit to a new sector. That's what the talk is all about today, right? Our job roles, and it can be for both employed and unemployed, and it can last for full training. And training providers will commit to them and talk to them and help them in terms of job search for them after the completion of the courses that's available in the SCTP itself.
Wow, thank you. It's really exciting. We're coming to close to 2023, and then by 2025 we'll have like over 200.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
So for all of you who are watching, well, I guess you have more choices by then. Now, coming to this SkillsFuture as well as WSG, right? How can we find out more information, and how can we get in touch with the organizations?
Yeah. So for WSG, right? I think for job seeker, you can definitely find out more about various career resource online. One good source will be Wikipedia by My Careers Future. So it's housed under My Careers Future website. So, and of course, those people who are thinking about their career, you have uncertainty about your next career move, you can definitely seek professional career guidance by approaching the Careers Connect centers under Workforce Singapore, or the various SG United Jobs and Skills Center, which is located at various CC in different localities. So the career coach or the career ambassador will be able to provide career advisory to to guide you in your career journey. And of course, they can explore various job opportunities in My Careers Future, which is a job portal, thereby they can actually search for jobs that are suitable for them. And there are some jobs listed that is with government support as well. So these are, the things that they can actually participate in. For example, career workshop or webinars, to help them in their employability or career-related concerns.
Yes, I've seen quite a number of this in shopping malls. They have reached out with My Careers Future, and then they partner with SkillsFuture together, so they can do some kind of some kind of interpersonal assessment skills.
The RISEC profiling, yes, correct.
Yeah, and then they will also try to pair up, because we arrange employers to come down for on-site interviews. So I would see that, it's really quite rampant. We are carrying out island-wide activations on this. So do look out for this. And if you're really you're interested, you could go for a on-site assessment, and we will also tell you, what are the jobs available on the job matching board. You can also go to the portal. There's so many ways for you to access all these tools. And Manu, are there any tips or ways that we could access information or maybe advice on the skills in demand?
Okay, sure. There are the three main things that I want to share. The first thing is about you can actually sign up with us for the SkillsFuture Advice Workshops webinar, right? So that this is a 1 hour workshop. It can be very physical or webinars. And as you shared earlier about the RISEC profiling, to assess themselves whether what kind of trainings or skills they need to know and what kind of job related they can actually go for.
More suitable for.
Yes, correct. And second one is that they can actually sign up for one-to-one personalized, like a career coach. We call it training ambassadors. They will analyze your skill sets and see where you are actually suitable for it, where the gaps are, and then they recommend courses for you to go for it. All right. And lastly, you can actually log into the My SkillsFuture account, where, as you know, the government has just given us credits for you to use, okay, for individuals, all right? So you can use the credits to go into the portal. There are about 25,000 courses.
25,000 courses, wow, okay. This is amazing.
Yes, basically. So they can use the courses and the credits to offset the net payments that they have, so they can have powerful insights on road sectors and jobs. As I shared earlier about the skills framework, they can go in to look at it. And using the credits, they can actually take up courses, whether it's more for a lifelong learning, right, for very passion learning, or whether it's going to be a skill set. Because a lot of mindset of individuals are, I'm working for an employer, my employer will send me for the courses. So what am I going to use the credit for? They can actually take up other courses to make
enrich themselves
and make sure that they can actually be one step further than any other person. And they're going to make a switch of career. They can actually have these skill sets to showcase in their resume. Right.
We are always be prepared, so that when the opportunity comes knocking, you're always ready.
Yes,
that's right. And also, you can share with us more about the SkillsFuture. The credits, will they expire?
Okay, fine. So the first, when it was launched in 2017, Singaporeans who are turning 25 and above, you're given a $5 credit. and this doesn't expire at all, right? You can encash it or you can't transfer this particular credit to anybody else. So a lot of questions will arise. Hey, I got an elderly patient, a mother, father, I can't use them. So I say that's the status now that they have to use it for themselves. But during the pandemic, so what happened? They want individuals to actually upskill themselves. So government actually provided another $500, so it's 1,000. But this particular credit of $500 will expire by 31st December 2025. Okay, that's for the mid-career switches. There's another 500 given. Actually, I shared earlier about the SkillsFuture career transition program. They can only use this $500 for the
Skills related.
Yeah, correct, courses, right? And that will also expire by 31st December 2025.
Okay,
Right, so
magical number.
audience out there, remember the top ups, you have to use it by 2025. But don't lag behind your first opening credit, because ensure that you're able to use the credits for your courses that you are intend to take.
Okay, so the first credit of 500, no expiry.
No expiries, correct.
But the subsequent ones, we will all have the expiry date by 31st December 2025.
Yes.
So, you know, if you log in and you still realize that you have so much credits in your SkillsFuture, please make good use of it, because government give us all the SkillsFuture credit so that we could upskill and reskill ourselves to learn new skills, okay? So run with it, all right?
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing with us on the SkillsFuture. So I hope that this become a very important key takeaway. All right. So maybe you can also on the portal can share with us more about
Sure.
My SkillsFuture.
So audience out there, we are looking at it. If you go log into myskillsfuture.gov.sg, all right. Once you're inside, there are courses there.
So many courses.
25,000 courses. Okay, but not to worry. You'll not be swarmed by so many courses. Key in the keywords that you are looking for a particular course, and then they will show up, and then you can actually use the bars to showcase and say that it's going to be a 1-day course or 2 weeks course, the amount that you're willing to pay, and that actually narrow down your search. And secondly, all right, on the login button, if you log in through your SyncPass, you'll be able to see how much credits are available for you, the balance credit. All right. And thirdly, as we talked about the RISEC profiling, if you go into that resources, you can actually log into your SyncPass to do your RISEC profiling to further understand about yourself, exactly how it works, right? And what is your preferred interest level is, and what is the strengths that you have within you, right? And then you can look for a job that you're looking around for.
Wow, excellent. So I hope you gain a better understanding of navigating through the website for SkillsFuture as well as WSG. And more importantly, I know all this are key information that will be very enriching for us for this afternoon if you are planning to do a mid-career switch. Okay, so please stay connected with us throughout our conversation. You can also subscribe here via the QR code for the latest SSG's news so that you don't miss out on the latest offerings and all the latest resources. Okay, so right now let's move on to our live Q&A because there's so many questions pulled in. A lot of people are interested about switching careers and they love to, get some advice from all our mentors here in this afternoon. Okay, so let's move on to the questions that we've garnered the most number of votes, and the votes are still climbing. So this question is, what should I do if I'm suffering from a burnout and I'm thinking of leaving my company? Well, there's not a lot of people vote for it. A lot of people burn out. It's true, for this 2 years, whichever industry you are, especially maybe like healthcare and all, they tend to feel a little bit more burnout. So they're still thinking. So should they leave or not leave?
Yep.
Advice.
Okay, so since this is about leaving company, I assume it has to do with employment. So I think it's important to find out the root of your burnout because every time when I evaluate such conversations with my job seeker, right, is down to a few reasons. Number one is about the job they are doing. They do not like what they are doing. It's too mundane, it's too routine, or it's too adventurous for them. Sometimes burnout can be caused by the culture of the company. Maybe you like the job, but the culture of the company very stifling, too micromanaging.
Too much office politics.
Yes, too much office politics. Or even like the immediate co-workers, which includes the supervisors or even people who work alongside with you that makes life difficult for you.
Toxic.
Yes, so it's important for you to identify the source of the burnout. So of course, if it really has to deal with the nature of the work you are doing, then of course, the first thing is that if, let's say, you are exploring, probably you want to start by exploring internally. Could I get a transfer? Because I would want to explore doing different things in the
to other
company.
departments.
Yes, correct. But of course, if let's say that's not the option, then maybe you want to keep a lookout, on the outside as well. But of course, if it really has to do with the culture or the co-workers itself, I think this is a bit tricky because this is not something you can snap your fingers and it get changed. Yeah. So probably it is to see, what are calculate the cost, whether do you have a lot of things that you're responsible for, because we live in a very pragmatic society, bills have to be paid and stuff like that. Of course, the thing is you have to take into consideration, nobody can make the decision for you. If you feel that you're ready to leave without a job, start your job hunt, then of course the thing is there's a possibility. But do not make that decision before you calculate all the costs that is in place.
Yeah, you have to really look at the pros and cons, especially if you are married and you have a few children. That is very important because sometimes it's not about your own personal decision, also based on the family. Can you jump ship right now? Or it is better to stay where you are while looking for greener pastures around. If you still love this industry, you want to stay in this industry, but without this culture, there are still companies that you could, consider. So you can go to our portal that we mentioned earlier on to just find out whether for your particular job that you like, what are the companies, which companies are actually hiring. And I know I always have this tip from a friend who says even though you're not really looking for a career, but you can always go for an interview because it starts you with the interview skills. So once you kickstart on this, it's easier when you truly want to land a job of your dream job. So you can always start by going to attend some interviews first, rather than just gear up for that one single one that you really want to make an impression with.
Yep, that's right.
True.
Okay, so next question we have is, I am 59 years old. How do I find courses that I could use the additional $500 given to my group of seniors?
Okay,
Mano.
basically, I was sharing with you about the SkillsFuture Career Transition Program. This $500 is meant for this group of seniors. Right? So as I mentioned earlier, there's about 47 courses now. Right? Actually, they can enroll into that particular courses of interest that they want to switch a career to. All right? And then from there, they need not switch a career, but basically enroll first, take up the course, and the time is right for them to move, then they can go. All right, so that's the $5 they're looking out for, and ensure that it's going to expire by 31st December 2025. All right, and you can build your network, all right, through these courses because these courses are heavily subsidized, and if you go out and meet up with friends, as what Asher shared earlier, networking is such an important part that you play for a job search. So use that. That's a $5, not only for seniors, as young as 42 to 62 now, you can actually use this particular $5 credit.
Yes, thank you for the great tip. And next question is, I've sent many resumes, but none of them gotten myself an interview. What should I do? Yes, I can totally feel you. You could throw out a lot of resumes, right? And then nobody answers you, nobody replies you. It can be rather deflating on the ego and morale.
Yep.
So what should this person do?
Okay, early on in one of the questions, I believe, I shall not repeat, what is being shared. So I think it's important for you to get an insight, because if you have already done whatever that's shared earlier on, which is to tailor your resume in, according to the job description, you have already put in your major accomplishment and achievements, and still, you struggle with getting interviews. Now, it's important, you can leverage on friends, to help you to prove it, your resume as well. Of course, the thing is there must be open relationship, and these people are brave enough to be critical, of what you can improve. And of course, the thing is if you have friends who work in the HR, all the more better because they're going to give you tips.
Yeah.
So alternatively, they can always approach WSG, Careers Connect, to speak to a career coach that might give you additional pointers. So it might not be bad, but there is definitely some room for improvement, because I always tell my clients as well, even for my own resume, there's always a room for improvement. So the thing is, it's always important to find out what is the lack, what is the gap, and we try to bridge in on there itself.
Adding on to that is also the skills, whether do you have the right skills for the job that you're applying for. If you don't have the right skills, it's good that you take up the skill sets, make sure that the job you're applying for meets your requirement.
And things are always ever evolving and ever changing. So maybe your resume, the style of writing may not be up to date. So like what Ashley said, you get a HR friend to help you to proofread. They will tell you, hey, actually this is not trending already. So there should be certain ways that you write a resume. Or simply speak to our career coach at WSG. They will be here to assist you and also to tell you like what's lacking in your resume so that you could ace yourself and land yourself an interview. So good luck to you for your next interview, okay? So speak to us soon. Okay, next question is, next one is, I am a retired PME, but I wish to look for a job to pass time. So how should I start? Very good, you're retired but not really retired. Yes, how should they start? Where should they start?
Okay, if you're retired and you're looking for a particular job, all right, if you're not particular about a full-time job.
They just want pastime.
A pastime, just a freelance job, okay, or part-time job to kill the time. Basically, you can look for jobs that are related to what you like to do. Passion, right? So you can do something like your passion learnings and land a job on that, like 3 to 4 hours just to pass your time. That'll be okay. There are many jobs out there. There's so many portals out there.
Yes.
Because even at career fairs that we do at E2I, there are part-time job catering for this kind of people. So
yeah, there's many portals,
yes,
many avenues as well. And when I sometimes take those public transport, right, those hired drivers, right, they tell me they only drive to pastime only. Because then they can talk to people and interact with people. That's another way because they're all retired, but they don't really need the money, but they can pass time more effectively that way, okay? So next question is, how can a career coach help me in my job search?
All right, so
Your forte.
yeah. So as mentioned, it is important for us, there is actually many things that we can do with the client itself. For one, I think if let's say you're uncertain or unaware where to proceed, because we meet from a range from fresh grad all the way to my oldest client is 78 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically, right, at different juncture, you might be struggling with different things. So for example, for self-awareness, we do have some ways to run some profiling to help you understand yourself better, in terms of your career decision making. We provide insights and, labor market trends so that to identify, your interest area. Of course, also stock take on what are the skills set you have. Then, of course, the more common ones that we face with is that the job search strategies itself. For example, how do I better my resume? How do I craft it in a more receptive, impressive way? And of course, interview preparation. I love to run through people for interview prep because I think that gives them the confidence to actually perform in the interview itself. And of course, things like utilizing the different platforms to brand yourself, going for networking, so on and so forth. Yeah, so these are the things that career coach will run through with you in your job search itself.
Yes, and that's why they are called career coach for that matter, You must look for the expert truly, okay? So speak to them very soon from WSG. Next question is, what if my passion for a profession is in conflict with my personality? A bit like what you just said, we do a bit of a profiling assessment. Yes. So if you're not that kind of person, but you're going for a job that is totally different from your personality, would you advocate that?
Okay, so for that, right, I would go back to VIPS where I shared just now, because the thing is we talk about values, interests, personality, and skill set. So all these things play a part in our career decision making. So earlier, personality is just one portion of it, one of the 4. I mean, there are a myriad of reasons and factors to consider. So if you are at ease, maybe your values, it's in line with that. For example, I always share this example. I have a very, very quiet friend, but she works as an insurance agent. And then the thing is, right?
Shines.
Yeah, so the thing is, typically people will not associate. People will associate insurance agents. No offense, is a common assumption that they are very outspoken, very proactive in that sense. Yeah, but then the thing is, when I ask her, why, because she feels that through this role, she can able to help people to plan their finances, and of course, in time of crisis, there will be things for them to help them with, and of course, most important thing, she also mentioned that if you do well, the expectation remuneration it's there, So the thing is, right, these are what she values, is above and beyond her personality. She will take it as a trade-off in that sense. So it's up to you for you to evaluate whether is it important that your personality plays a part in your career? Because to some, it doesn't matter at all. To some, it's very important that it is aligned.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Okay, I think at the end of the day, it's also important to bring value to the work that you actually put forward to. So I think there's a lot of emphasis. Be passionate about what you work for, and then you never wake up a day having to work because you're always working for your passion.